So I don't use that intro normally, so I was just dancing away.
It is a nice solid beat. I'll give them that.
It's long though. It's like 30 seconds. Like, what do you do for 30 seconds?
There's people who do that for 5 straight minutes, and you can sort of see them backstage. Even though they're backstage, you see them just kind of hanging out, and they just go like this for 5 minutes while the music plays.
Well, we just saw Steve's dance moves, so that's check that off the list too. So
not much to say.
Yeah.
Very cool. Wow, well, thanks for joining us. I'm glad we're finally at this point where we can talk about the big evolution of this platform.
Yeah, absolutely. We got Steve here joining us for the first time from formerly, well, still exists, Rocket MSP, but it's just part of Channel Program family. And yeah, I mean, today we're here to talk about vendor contract management. Surprisingly, not a topic that's discussed nearly enough based on a lot of the feedback we've been getting this week. And I think it's time to create a new category in the space, because it is 100% something that every MSP needs to be doing.
Yeah, it's sometimes risky, but we created a category with dark web previously, so we're I guess it's not our first rodeo. But yeah, to your point, Matt, I mean, when we were out at Schnitzfest here recently, we were speaking with the MSPs, and you asked them, how are they managing their contracts? How do they have, do they have visibility over all the vendors that they work with? And almost to a T, it's like blank stares. They had to think about it and process it. And there were maybe only a handful that said, well, maybe some of them after they thought about it, they said, maybe we might have an Excel spreadsheet somewhere. But in this day and age where, if you look at just overall economics, the kind of macroeconomics, and vendor sprawl and just all these things. And with a lot of these MSPs looking to be acquired, they have to really get this. They have to nail this stuff. They have to understand their costs. They have to understand their contracts. They have to understand the sprawl or spread of their technology stack. So, this is definitely creating a new category. But we couldn't be more excited, because it is a massive, massive need based on all the interactions that we've had here recently.
Yeah. So, Steve, I'm going to put you on the spot since you're a former MSP. How were you at managing vendor contracts?
Well, Matt, I managed vendor contracts the way I manage everything. Poorly.
Yeah. Well, and that was really, I mean, honest, I think I was actually pretty shocked the responses to that question. One, I was just surprised how many either just do it through an Excel spreadsheet. Some just literally pointed to their brain on how and that's impossible. There's too many vendor contracts you work with. And, what I was reminding a lot of the MSPs was, it's not just about your vendor contracts of the people in the room, the typical kind of like your main partners. It's about the Zooms and your Canva accounts and your StreamYard accounts and your QuickBooks. There's so many layers and ancillary products that you kind of forget are on contract terms. So it was mind blowing. I probably spoke with probably 200 MSPs throughout those last couple of days in Schnitzfest. There was not one that could say with confidence that they felt they were doing a good job of managing their their vendor contracts. So it was pretty validating, I would say.
Well, I gotta say, I asked a couple MSPs, and I'm in some Discord groups, who's not, right? I asked some MSPs, hey, how are you managing your vendor contracts? And they're like, we aren't. That was the response across the board. And I said, well, how would you if you decided you were going to? And one guy, I'm sure some of you can figure out who, he said, well, I'm going to do it in Microsoft Dynamics. Because, as soon as he gets a shiny new toy, he wants to go all in on that toy. But that still means he has to set it all up and configure Dynamics, and there's a lot of work that's going to have to go into doing that. Other people, I'm sure they could do it with just an Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah.
Look, I mean, the root of this, not just because we got feedback, but this is a problem that I had dealt with for 10, 15 years. I've given an example a couple times publicly, but with scaling pretty large reseller and MSP business in the public sector. I had 70 plus 75 different technologies that we were representing and providing to federal, state, and local governments. Right, they were all on our GSA schedule, but every vendor we had different start dates, end dates, terms, different pricing models, and it was an absolute nightmare to track this stuff. And just this that pained me for years. And as we're going down this path to start visualizing, that was the first step, like help everybody just visualize what they have. And then we started to see, the data behind the scenes says that the average number of products entered is 25, right? 25. And then there's some overlap in different product categories. But then we've had some MSPs that have put 100, and I think that the most I've seen so far is 178 different products.
Wow.
Right. And it's incredible. I mean, the rationale behind that and a couple others is that, hey, we've acquired a whole bunch of MSPs and we're rolling up. We're trying to figure out what's in, what are we acquiring? How many different products are, spread throughout these, handful of MSPs that we've acquired. And I think it was 100, I think in that case it was about 150, but I think there's one MSP in there that has 178 different products in their stack. And so, as the market matures, as MSPs mature, as, private equity is really, still accelerating in this market, MSP's got to get on top of this, right? And the goal was to build something that was very user-friendly, very easy, start entering contracts. And we'll layer in some more sophistication, and additional reporting and visualizations and stuff like that. But the goal is just, hey, just get your house in order. Like that's the first step. Regardless if you're scaling fast, it's great. If you're having to, cut back and what have you, not so great, but you really got to get a grasp on these vendors and the contracts and you got to get a grasp on your business. And so that was the idea behind this platform. Just make it super simple, visualize, and then start layering in the contract. And we've got some really kick butt things coming down the way. But we'll get to that when we get there.
Yeah. And go ahead, Steve.
I was just going to say, to piggyback off of that, I think it would be smart for us to talk about MSPs and operational maturity for a second, because as MSPs grow, they have different problems, right? So MSPs that are, let's just generalize a whole bunch of them. MSPs that are like $1 million or less in annual revenue, they're more focused on like their tools and their talent, like their people, because there's a very limited resource of people, and they probably are changing tools a lot because they're trying to find that magic tool that's going to free up their time. They're looking for the roost of everything, right? And so now they've got all these different tools, and they're canceling this and signing up for that, and they're doing that in sometimes rapid succession, and that's a lot of contracts to wrangle. And some of them are month to month, maybe a lot of them are month to month, but they still need to keep track of, oh yeah, I'm spending money here and I'm spending money there, and this one I can cancel in 7 months, and this one I can cancel in 32. And
yeah, well, and then there's a lot of overlap. I mean, obviously each one of these vendors continues to scale and build out their businesses. And in some case, that means adding a completely new line of product. And all of a sudden you may find that you have 3 vendors who offer password management that you're paying separately. So yeah, there's so much of that's taking place in their industry that people need to be paying attention to. And we can definitely discuss this a little bit more in a second, because I do want to give a little bit of a preview.
Before you do that preview, I think one more important point to note, though, is I do think this is having a material impact on the relationship between the MSP and the vendor, because to Steve's point, he's out on Discord, and obviously there's Slack groups and Reddit, what have you, and one of the main sources of friction between MSP and vendor is contract, right or wrong. Oftentimes I think the genesis of it is that MSP is just not on top of their game. They're not on top of their stack, and they're not thinking about this. then there's auto renewals and stuff like that. And, there's obviously different, subscription models and rationales or what have you. But, that's one area of friction I think that we can help alleviate. Right. And so as MSPs are adding the vendors to their NaviStack and it's opening up the PRM and they're interacting with their vendor, right? This is another way, another layer of, improving that communication between the MSP and the vendor. And that's something that hasn't surfaced at all in this industry over the last 20, 25 years of it being a true kind of MSP industry. So that's why we're really pumped about it. So go ahead, Matt.
Yeah. So this Friday at 12 Eastern time, we're actually going to be doing the first kind of real live demo of the product. So we certainly encourage you to register for that. I think Kelly is putting up a couple of those links as well. So definitely go there and register for the first exclusive look. And there's definitely advantages to being there and learning about it, because we've got an entry price point that's only going to be available to a certain amount of MSPs as we intro this to the community. So definitely check that out. But we also have kind of a 2-minute teaser that Garrett on our team put together. Starts to really kind of walk you through what the journey is going to look like and what you'll see as well. So let's see, before we show that real quick, we got Terry here. Nice seeing you, Terry, by the way. It's all roses and sunshines when they are buying a tool, but when the relationship sours and get around to reading the fine print of the contract, suddenly the vendor is the bad guy. Good stuff, guys. Appreciate it, Terry. Always appreciate your support. So Kelly, why don't we go ahead and hit that teaser for the worldwide exclusive? So there we go. Worldwide exclusive. Looks beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the visual part of it, I think, is a big thing as well. Like, because you will hear a couple MSPs from time to time say they're using it in the documentation. They're trying to track some of the stuff in the documentation thing. But I think the visualization also helps you stay on top of it, as well as, of course, the reminders and everything. But I think actually seeing it and having something that actually is built specifically for this makes it completely different. Makes it just completely different than anything an MSP is using currently. So
awesome.
I agree. It's pretty. If you guys know me, I'm a fan of pretty colors and shiny objects. I have serious shiny object syndrome, and I got to play with it, you know, I set up a NaviStack, I set up some contracts, and it was easy to work with too.
Yeah. Yep.
Great comment by Zach there, real quick. Oops, there you go. You got it. Running a MSP for 10 years saves a real pain point you're solving with this product. Yeah, and that's absolutely the goal. That's the goal, is to help this industry get on top of their game.
Yeah, and by the way, you don't have to wait till Friday to sign up for the product. It's available now. You can get a subscription to it and get cracking today. And for those 1,200 MSPs that have already built out their NaviStack, the best part about that is it integrates seamlessly already into the contract vendor management side of it. So it allows you to, it already knows the vendors you're working with, so you can seamlessly start plugging those in. And Kevin, I guess some final, closing statements before we wrap here and try to get as many people to join us on Friday, obviously.
Yeah, no, look, I mean, I think echo you and Steve. I mean, we're excited about this. I think this is it's just crazy that nothing like this has existed in this industry, you know, for this long. And we're just glad to be the ones to be able to bring it to you and really have a material impact on the MSPs and how they run their business and grow, and have an impact on M&A and kind of all these roll-ups as well. So this is game changing. We're pretty pumped up about it, and you should be as well.
All right, we'll see you on Friday.
All right, thanks.